Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory Podcast. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. What's good, Danny? How have you been?
I've been great, dude. Hit the fucking like button. New week, bro. Had a great chilled weekend. Dude, the first weekend in South Florida that you've been able to like hang out outside after 5 p.m. without sweating. So, dude, truly appreciate that, bro, because I've been confined to my house, little fucking office for like 2 weeks straight, bro. So it was nice to get some fresh air. Saw some movies, bro. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. I think you said you did watch it already. Did you watch Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dude, yeah. I watched that. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, dude, definitely a 9. Definitely a high. Yeah, dude. It was a very good movie. Like, I feel like a movie, like, if you fast forward, we could take our kids to, or, you know, whatever. But it's still, like, I think they would try to make you remember those moments when you were playing, like, Super Nintendo. So I really appreciate that. And, dude, also, I watched a lot of fucking TV recently, bro. I watched and finished the limited series Painkiller on Netflix. Have you watched that?
I haven't watched it or heard of it.
Bro, highly recommend. It's about the opioid epidemic that's been like fucking up most of Middle America. But dude, I mean, I've heard of the opioid crisis, right? But like, when you start like this limited series, like shows you the company that did it, and then the lawyers who kind of help like shut it down. But then it also gives you like somewhat of a true story of like the families impacted by the person who becomes essentially like an addict off like Oxycontin. Bro, it's very essentially like one big ass movie, but they can't make like a 7-hour long movie, so they made it like a limited 6-hour series. Bro, Netflix, Painkiller, I think is relatively new. Bro, like there's no way you don't get emotional watching that, because you're like, wow, bro, this is like, God forbid you're like a normal dude or female and you just injure yourself and now you're like addicted to fucking pain meds and you're like, bro, my life was just fine like a day ago. Like, how the fuck did I get here?
So essentially these companies and doctors are like over prescribing for like just the littlest thing and you get addicted?
So, yeah. So, dude, it's like a whole thing, man. It's like almost like the company became like a cult and they had these salespeople, right, who would just like go into these clinics and pushing these products and giving these doctors more financial incentive to keep pushing the pain meds, right? And they're swearing to these doctors it's approved, blah, blah, blah. All these salespeople are attractive young females, right? So there's like that. They're trying to seduce them, right, by pushing their products. And then the company fully knew, according to this, docuseries, that this was going to be a highly addictive drug. But they were about to go out of business and they needed something that would attract people to keep using it, right? Like they were like, it's a circle between like human beings are only looking for things to relieve pain and like satisfaction. And it's like, if we can meet them like right in the middle, we will have an endless supply of people. And it's like, yeah, dude, but that endless supply of people, like they're going to die at some point, you know what I mean? Right. Because of this. So dude, it's wild, bro. So like, all like the preconceived things I heard about like Oxycontin and all that stuff, it's like, this doesn't, like, you need to watch this doc just to get a better understanding. If obviously, thankfully, God forbid, like someone you knew was affected by this. I don't think anyone really knows how bad this shit is until you start seeing people's like, bro, it's like, it's not just the addict, it's now the addict's wife, the kids, the job, like, bro, like it's like a fucking trickle effect. And like, obviously the family who created the drug is, making I think they were saying they were making like $100 million per day. Dude, insane, bro.
Yeah.
So that was my weekend, bro. A lot of inside, but also outside TV, relaxing. 2 weeks away from being able to work out again, but another 2 weeks sober. So shout out to Pellegrino. How was your weekend, bro?
Weekend was good. Honestly, didn't do a whole lot. Yesterday I did see a movie. It was called The Last Voyage of Demeter, I think. The main actor is the guy who played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton.
Dude, that guy gets some like random roles, dog.
Yeah, it was a random ass role.
Yeah, he gets so many. Like I see him in like shit. I'm like, bro, like why aren't you the main guy in more shit? You know what I mean? Like it's just like, but shout out to him, bro. It's a gig, bro. But what's the movie about?
Essentially these guys go on this voyage to transport some sort of box or coffin, and it turns out it contains like a Dracula. And
Oh wow!
it escapes and terrorizes
Spoiler
everyone
alert.
on the ship. Yeah. I mean, like if you see the trailer, you've basically seen
You knew that was
everything
good. Okay.
possibly could have known. But it was still entertaining. It's one of those movies where I wouldn't necessarily pay to go see it, but we have
It's
the
a part of the
AMC
thing.
pass.
Yeah.
You watch it at home and you have nothing better to do, and you want to watch something. I think it's pretty entertaining. But outside of that, we did. I think I mentioned it, but more apartment shopping.
Online though, or are you guys driving out
In
there
person.
and like looking place? Okay.
In person. So we saw a couple new spots that I had found in addition to one of the ones that we liked, but the unit that we were considering wasn't available. Long story short, like none of the units really felt like V1. Like we didn't get that gut feeling of like, oh, we're ready to sign. They weren't bad, but we just weren't eager to move. Like despite our area, like we really do love our apartment. It's convenient, like a shit ton of natural sunlight. As you can see, it's bright as shit in the background right now. But
at 6 p.m. in August, that's fire.
Yeah. I always lose track of time. But yeah, there's a couple buildings that we've kind of filtered it down to. It's just a matter of the 2 units we're really considering just aren't available till mid-September. So what we might do is just move to month for this current apartment, and then hopefully over the course of the next couple months we're able to pull the trigger on something. But it's kind of that weird situation because it's like, do we commit to 6 months and save a few hundred on the current rent and just hope something pops up in 6 months, or do we just bite the bullet, spend a little extra and then hope that we can move before the end of the year? But I mean, good position to be in regardless. Excited for whatever we end up doing, but that's basically what's been occupying our past
weekends, like the free time.
Yep.
Nice, dude. Nice. But like mentally though, like it's happening, right? Like it's if it happens in a month or happens in 6, regardless, it's happening.
Yeah, I'd say we're at that point.
Nice, dude. Congrats, man. That's exciting, bro. Like, especially like,
Appreciate
this, like, dude, like the idea of moving sucks, though. So, like, if you're actually excited about moving, like, that's a good position to be in, bro. Because most people are like, bro, I don't want to fucking just pay however much they want to increase it by. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was there a lot with my rent I was in my last apartment for like 4.5 years. So, and then I only stayed because I was like, bro, I don't want to deal with this shit again. Like, I don't. I don't. So, dude, good for you because you guys have only been there for what, 2 years?
2 years, yeah. About two-ish, 2.5. It'll be probably by the time the next month comes around.
Yeah. So say that you guys after 2 years, like obviously still love it, but you're okay with going somewhere else. But that's a good spot to be in for sure. So
yeah,
I'm sure it'll work out. I'm sure it'll work out. So you can keep us posted. But all right, bro. So let's get to it then, man. Glad you had a good weekend. Hope everybody listening did as well. Episode 150 is currently up everywhere. Utopia is here. We give a full breakdown and review of the album and our thoughts as we went through it. But episode 151, let's get to it. I kind of wanted to talk about, obviously a monumental time in hip hop right now. This entire year is almost like every single corporate company in America is honoring 50 years of hip hop. So, Audio Theory should jump on that train as well. So, to you, man, like when you obviously were both 33, 34 years old, respectfully, what was the one moment that you remember growing up that you're like, man, I love this shit, this thing now called hip hop? I don't even know if you called it hip hop or rap at the time, but like, when was that one moment that you're like, yo, this is everything to
me? Growing up, I always loved hip hop. Just because my brothers in particular would always play it, and it was just that music that I love dancing to. But I, of course, love other music like R&B and oldies and stuff that my parents would play. So the moment I think where I really was like, oh shit, I'm like in love with hip hop as a thing was I vividly remember listening to Get Rich or Die Trying in my brother Mickey's car. Because he was like the music plug, because I wasn't really old enough. One, I didn't have money, my own money, and then two, my parents for sure weren't gonna let me buy it. And I think this was like before, like right before LimeWire and all the illegal platforms. But yeah, we listened to it from front to back every time he would pick me and my brother up from school. And I think it was just like the first time I had been old enough to really like understand a beef of that scale going on with like 50 Cent and Ja Rule.
Okay.
Because I like Ja Rule prior to even.
Bro, everyone did, bro.
Yeah, we all did.
That's probably why that was like so impressive. Because we all were Ja Rule fans, bro. Like,
right. But then we got to the point. It got to the point where like I was actually dissecting the bars, and I thought Many Men it was so hard when he was talking about how like he got hit, like I got hit, but he's not breathing, and just I don't know. It was very cinematic to a point where, you know, I just really became a fan of the art, and it was the first time ever in my life where I requested, you know, the merch of a rapper. Like I wanted a hoodie for Christmas. So I was just like really tapped into the culture at that point. So I think that was like one of my fondest early hip hop memories that I can think of.
Dude, I love it, dude. I love it. I'm glad that we start with the 50 Cent topics early on this episode because it's going to be a trend. Dude, so for me, funny enough, it's because I do agree with the Get Rich or Die Trying album being cinematic, which is why, dude, I was so disappointed with the actual movie, bro. Like that movie was awful, dog. Like like when that movie came out, I was like, "Are you fucking? Yeah, you just ruined the greatest album of like all time with this fucking mediocre acting." But that's a side note for Cinema Theory, dude. For me, I would say my favorite. Well, the moment that just made me fall in love with it, right? Because I think when Get Rich or Die Trying, I was a year older than you, but like again, I don't know. I was already around hip hop in a very day-to-day way, like the years leading up to that. But I would say the moment like it made me like stop in my tracks and be like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" Bro, it was when it was at the time Puff Daddy and Mace came out with their version of "Can't Hold Me Down," right? Which is obviously like a remake of like songs from like the '80s. But when I heard "Can't Hold Me Down," bro, I was like, I need this every single day. What's the radio stations that play this shit? And dude, I was 7 or 8 years old, bro. But I like at that moment, I was like, and my mom's funny. My mom actually sent me to live in Dominican Republic when I turned like 9. And I remember like she's like, "Hey, like, what do you want me to send you this month? Like a box of shit." I was like, "Bro, go to Sam Goody and just get me a bunch of hip hop albums so I can listen to, bro." And like the first album I ever got, which a hip hop album, was the Puffy and Bad Boy Family, like No Way Out album, bro. And it had like all the Puffy hits. And I was like, bro, this is next level shit, dog. So yeah, I would say Bad Boy is the true reason why like I fell in love with hip hop like initially, which is crazy because a year later, like with all of, like the Tupac Bad Boy beef, like I took Tupac's side and I was like, "Oh, fuck Bad Boy."
Yeah.
But again, when you're a 7, 8-year-old kid, you're influenced by fucking everything. But yeah, I would say for me personally, it was the can't hold me down moment.
Nice. That's interesting. Especially because like, I mean, with Puffy, I never really understood like how to categorize him because it's like he was a rapper sometimes, but then sometimes he's just in the background.
Yep.
And I had no idea of how to really interpret his career. In a weird way, I wasn't sure like if I was supposed to be a fan of him or not. Like I never knew what he was contributing.
So even now,
so like when I think of making the band and all kinds of shit, I'm like, he's so insanely successful, but kind of like DJ Khaled. I mean, I'm sure Puffy's done infinitely more, but kind of like DJ Khaled, I can't say that I don't like them as individuals or contributors, but I at the same time don't really know what to say. Like,
yeah, it's almost like we wish, because I get what you're saying, dude. Because I agree, especially with the Khaled take, I agree with that a lot. It's almost like I wish I knew what your tangible skill is, right? Because your intangibles are off the charts, right? Like I know you can create eyes, garner attention, blah 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 blah. But like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like that. So yeah, for sure. But dude, I was around though when Diddy was rapping, right? Like those those first 4 years, like that I was really into hip hop, he was rapping, bro. Like he would come out with individual albums, just him. But I mean, he's known for producing, right? But even though like that's the loose term, right? Like you made a joke last week about like the Kanye, if you're in the room, you're like a credit. Like I think he's like, he was more responsible for like bringing the energy together and like making sure albums sounded a certain way, right? I think like there was a clip that Nipsey had him help out on the on Victory Lap, right? Yeah. And he was just like in the room saying, "Dude, I know you want it to sound like this, but you're not doing it right. Do this, right?" So I think it's like shit like that he did over and over and over again with so many people. And then obviously, dude, because my thing is like every time the Forbes list comes out, he's always number 2. But it's like, bro, how are you number 2 with $1 billion by your name? And I'm like, bro, I don't know what you do. Like, I mean, like there's no way you sold so much Ciroc that now like you're a billionaire. But
right,
different.
Yeah, I think for me, when it came to rappers, it was always I gravitated towards the artists that I kind of wanted to be like. In a way. Sure. Because like Bow Wow, I think was as I remember it, one of the first few artists that I was really tapped into. And I think he was a little more PG-13. So he was one of the few ones that like I could say, can I get his album? Me and my younger brother, Corey, actually performed one of his songs in Jamaica for some little talent show thing at the resort.
Oh shit, nice.
And I remember there was these 3 British women. One of them actually had a amputated leg. And she was on crutches and shit. And she was like, "Can I get a picture with you guys? Like, you're going to be famous one day." And I think that was the first time I had ever, like, quote unquote, performed. Granted, it was like 40 people fucking eating, I don't know, jerk chicken and shit. Like, I'll be half paying attention. But I think that was like the first time I really was like, oh, I like this culture a lot. But then the G Unit era was when I realized how massive it was because you couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So then, if you had to like, so those are the moments we fell in love with hip hop, or maybe it was clear that hey, this is a important factor in our life. If you could say your top 3 moments in your history with hip hop, what would they be?
So first and foremost, I think the G Unit era. Like I just mentioned, I think it was just undeniably a massive moment for hip hop. And I think it was unique because it wasn't just like one coast, like 50 Cent combined with Young Buck, you know, G Unit South, I think he called it. Then you had Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo kind of repping for the East Coast as usual. And then the Game repping for the West Coast. So it's like, no matter where you were living,
and you had the Snoop Dogg co-sign at the time.
Oh yeah, the Snoop Dogg co-sign.
You had the Eminem co-sign. You had the Dr. Dre co-sign.
Yeah, like you just could not avoid G Unit, and I liked every member for all the individual contributions they made. Yeah, I'll admit the Game became my favorite rapper. I think obviously coming from the West Coast, like it just meshed perfectly with the kind of music and vibe I was going for. So I think that was a huge moment for me. Second, I'd probably have to say the Young Money era, like especially with Carter 3 and Lil Wayne dropping. I feel like that's the first time the like melodic auto-tune sound became a big thing. I mean, T-Pain obviously was around before that, but he wasn't. T-Pain, in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, wasn't really like a rapper. He was still kind of a R&B-ish.
Yeah, and I think it also in a lot of people's eyes, like, which is crazy. But I also think at some point with T-Pain, we were like, are we allowed to take this serious yet? You know what I mean? Like, it was almost like, is this like almost like a parody album that I should be enjoying? I think it's actually when he started doing more stuff with like rappers that were like, oh, okay, this is like a song that we can like enjoy every day. So, no, I get it. Because I remember like T-Pain was already out when I got to college in like 2007. And I think like even then I was like, bro, but do we really fuck with this though? Like this is like a joke, right? This isn't real music.
Right. And Lil Wayne is like a rapper's rapper for the most part. So once he tapped into that sound, I think it became more acceptable. And I don't know, the Young Money era with like the ascension of Drake and and Nicki Minaj and all these guys, I think music in general just changed completely. for better or for worse. And it was insane that their takeover. I wouldn't say it was necessarily as big as, you know, G Unit or anything, but I think for a moment in time, like that Young Money sound.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument out there that people would say it probably was bigger than G Units, but I know what you mean though. Like like it's hard. It's maybe like just there, like it's close.
Yeah. And I just remember thinking like Drake could like never miss, and he was just on everything. And you know, I was expecting his reign to last, you know, 3 years, then 4, then 5, and here we are, and it's like damn near forever. It feels like so. I think that was another huge moment for me, and right around the time was when I started rapping as a hobby. So I think it kind of coincided with prior to that. You know, I like a lot of other people, you would assume that if you rap, you have to be some hardcore street dude who only rapped about growing up in the hood or having ops or whatever the case is.
Right.
And around this time, it seemed like everybody, especially on the internet, was coming out with music regardless of their background. So I think that was a big moment for me and inspired a lot of my earlier sound. But the third one, it's a good question. I mean, those are two of the biggest ones for sure. I'd say the other one that kind of falls in between was Kanye's release of The Graduation and Lupe's release of The Cool. So that was like right, at least for me, when high school ended and college started. It was kind of this interim period after G Unit and like the Southern snap music, you know, was a thing. And then right before like Young Money and the more like poppy rap became a thing. I think that was kind of a pivotal moment and change in the course of music, because Kanye definitely wasn't he was more of a backpacker, and I think he had that moment where he was going against 50 Cent with The Sales, where they were battling that out, and he ended up winning, correct?
Oh yeah, like it wasn't even. They both obviously won, but as far as like Kanye, I think he saw like close to like 100,000 more records.
And at that point, I had already like moved past 50 Cent, and I was more tapped into Graduation and Lupe's album, and I think from that moment forward, I just appreciated more conscious music, or music that just digressed from the street shit that I was so obsessed with in high school. So I think it just opened my eyes to a whole variety of subgenres within hip hop. So for me, that year in particular was super impactful for me. And obviously, I was going through change at that time. You know, I'm graduating high school. I'm in college. Obviously, motivated to go down a new path in life, and the music like perfectly coincided with that, because it wasn't street shit. It was, I mean, it was quite literally named Graduation, and then the music itself, it was just different. So I think those three moments stick out for me.
Amazing. Dude, all great ones. I'm probably going to double up with the G Unit one. So like mine was definitely the G Unit mixtape / like bootleg era. Like that time of like, yo, I needed to have every single DJ Who Kid mixtape. I needed to fit, like that was a great time in music in general, definitely in hip hop, bro. And that was, again, I was only like, dude, 13, 14 years old. So that was like every summer or every winter, when I go back to New York, just fucking buy like 100 mixtapes to bring back with me. Or I don't even know if I had an iPod yet, bro. So I would just, you know, burn them on a disc and like bring it back. So definitely the G Unit mixtape era was a quintessential focus for me. That made me like truly like, yo, this is like, I love this shit. But again, very, very street shit, right? Which could be very confusing for, you know, two kids who clearly don't live that lifestyle, but we're different. We look different than like most people in my school. I went to India. I was in India at the time, right? So they're like, bro, who the fuck is this kid from New York? Like, what are you listening to, kind of a thing. But regardless, that was definitely number one for me. And dude, I would say number two, almost like piggyback off your Graduation take. Dude, so mine was when I went to see the Watch the Throne concert. That was my first year after graduating college. And then, dude, the energy and how that concert and these two artists doing their entire catalog, then the album together, what that made me feel in hindsight was that, like, okay, this isn't going to be just the music I listened to as my youth. This is the kind of thing I want all the fucking time moving forward, right? Because, dude, there really was a moment for me, like, when I graduated college, I had a job, but I was just, like, getting by. I had my own apartment. I wasn't really listening to music that way. And I was just, like, playing video games a lot. And I'm just like, damn, like, is this, like, adulting? Like, you just become an adult and then, like, you don't really, like, love this anymore. And then a friend at the time got me those tickets as a birthday present. And I was like, oh, no. I love this shit still. And, like, I need to make sure this is a part of my life all the time moving forward. So I would say Watch the Throne, that album, but that concert specifically really made me like, yeah, I fucking love this shit. And then, dude, honestly, number 3 would be the pod, bro, right? Like, to think about, like, this is a moment in time where we dedicate, you know, at least 2 hours a week to record, multiple hours a week to edit or whatever, and promote and market and, you know, spend money that we're not getting just yet. But also, dude, like, to think about the fact that, you know, we're still young enough and we're still, you know, immersed ourselves in this hip hop culture, that we've had the luck of having other people wanting to talk to us about their rap career, right? So that's a pretty wild full circle moment. Obviously, for you, making music is obviously a different, a different thing that I'll never tap into. But at least for me, like, to think that I came from a Dominican kid from the Bronx who fell in love with this shit, moved to India, came back, still love this shit. Obviously, you and I share a passion for it, and now I'm, you know, interviewing people who have their own rap careers. That's pretty wild. So I would say number 3 is definitely like the pod.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I never thought of it that way either, because I mean, at this point, it's so routine and
right, it's what natural we do,
for us. Right. But, like, if you told me 20 years ago I would be making songs or doing a podcast that's hip hop focused, I probably would have said you're crazy. Like, there's no way. Or maybe you're not crazy, but, you know, it's going to be really impossible to even begin trying to do. Whereas now, fortunately, things are much more accessible.
Right. Like, why would anyone who worked on, like, the Spider-Man soundtrack want to be in our podcast? And it's like, right, you asked.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, it's insane to think that something that started 50 years ago now employs, I mean, I don't even know how many people, but
no, gazillion, bro.
Yeah,
like
a gazillion people generating hundreds of millions of dollars is insane. And I don't think anyone could have ever predicted this. And I think even a lot of these pioneers, like, let's say Run DMC and LL Cool J, I don't think any of these guys thought they were going to be multi-millionaires, damn near billionaires. I'm sure they're like, oh, cool, I can pay my bills with this shit, but they're not thinking I'm going to have mansions across the world and shit.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. Obviously, Run DMC, LL Cool J, those guys paved the way. I think they're doing well, but it has to be almost like that feeling of, like, those, like, older NBA players that, like, they see the contracts these new players sign and they're like, motherfucker, bro. Like, if I would have just been playing, or if I would have been making music today, because obviously I mean, again, I don't know. I think that maybe I'm wrong, but, like, there seems to be more money in music now, right? Like, there just seems to be. Because I also think it was a different time back then. If you were a very good artist, I think you got more money off your record sales, but you also hear those crazy stories that, dude, I only got paid like 25 cents for every, like, 10 albums or some shit. So
right. I think there's more money now, but you're also more disposable. I think you mentioned it about, like, with Nas, like, we are investing in you and you have to make it. Like, there's no other choice. Whereas now it's just like, oh, cool, XYZ rapper, your song is hot right now. We'll throw a little bit at you, but if you fail, like, fucking go back to Best Buy or whatever the case is.
We'll find someone else, almost kind of a thing. Yeah. But I think now is, like, if you do make it, you're making it, bro. Like, it's life changing.
Like Doja Cat type shit.
Yeah. Whereas I think back in the day, that was a slow grind to get you to a level of like, you know what, I could stop making music today and my life is fine, kind of a thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, wild. All the things that happened in thus far in the 50 years of hip hop. So we could do like a slight pivot, but it still stays on that topic, and it came up because J. Cole came out at 50 Cent's concert a couple weeks ago or a week ago or something. And then you and I were talking offline about like, damn, like that song is fire. And then I came up like, yeah, does he have a lot of these songs though? Because like I don't remember moments where I'm like singing along to a lot of like J. Cole songs, right? And again, this might get blasphemy at some point, so we'll make sure we're very clear about our takes here. So the topic is, does J. Cole have enough bangers for GOAT status, right? So I think we both agree he's in that conversation, right? Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Like the J. Cole, the Drakes, the Kendricks, like he's in that conversation. There's no question to that. But I was wondering, does he have enough bangers that you would make you say, "Oh wow, like, I'm surprised"? Because, and I also want to make a clear thing. I think there's a difference between bangers, where you're like, play that shit again, and hits, right? Because I'm on currently before this conversation, I'm of the stance that I do think J. Cole has a lot of hits, but not a lot of bangers. And for me, a banger is replayable, high energy, concert level songs, right? So your thoughts of like J. Cole's status and like the bangers or hits that come to your mind.
I mean, I think J. Cole's definitely deserving of a GOAT conversation. And I think no one can argue whether or not he has hits just looking at his catalog again. But in terms of like, you know, concert or arena bangers that like just gets people out of their seat, I'm having a tough time thinking of a whole lot. I mean, I think
right? That's
No Role Models is the obvious one. I mean, I've heard that song in so many different environments, and everyone knows the words. Obviously, the formula is perfect because it's a simple, you know, melody that everyone can get behind it.
And the beat production, though, you just hear that beat, and you're just like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like they'll delay it because you're like, oh, like the crowd is, dude, the crowd's going crazy.
But outside of that, I mean, Wet Dreams and Workout are close, but I don't know if they have the same power as, you know, No Role Models or In the Club or God's Plan and all these other ones, right? Like,
I don't exactly. I think about like, so really for the same, like for me is like, I think about before we get to bang, like his biggest hits, right? Obviously, No Role Models, we both agree is a banger, right? But then Workout, I don't consider that a banger, right? I think it's a J. Cole hit, but not a banger. His other one of his bigger songs is Power Trip with Miguel. But it's like a great song, right? But and I do replay that one, but I'm never like at the club like, dude, I cannot wait till I hear fucking Power Trip tonight. You know what I mean? The Neighbors think I'm like Neighbors, right? Great song. That one's
definitely not close to the banger.
That's what I'm
it's dope,
saying.
But yeah,
it's dope, bro. This guy is nothing but dope, right? That's why I want to make sure like there's a clear like. I'm not saying he shouldn't be GOAT conversation, but it's odd. Like normally when people are in that thing, the banger conversation's like we could list like 5. And I don't think for him that's the case, which may just prove to like why he's just a great artist that like you don't need to have bangers. But initial run through, you're like, well, damn, this guy doesn't really have like that much here.
I'd say Can't Get Enough with Trey Songz. Now that I think about it, is close contender. I think that one's something that would definitely get people out of their seats. Nobody's Perfect with Missy Elliott. But yeah, to your point, like these at the same time, these aren't ones that I think, you know, are at the top of the request list by most people. Whereas with Kendrick, for instance,
go ahead, Troy.
No, I was just gonna say with Kendrick, for instance, who's I think more similar to Cole's audience as opposed to Drake, has a ton like Swimming Pools. What is it, Good Kid, Mad City? Or is it, what's the name of that one? Is it Good Kid, Mad City? No, or just Mad City?
Mad City Freestyle, something like that, or?
Yeah, Mad City. That's what it is. And yeah, a ton of others. So I don't think you have to sacrifice a conscious message to make a hit. But to your
No.
point, it's interesting that Cole doesn't seem to have as many mainstream, we'll say, club bangers as his peers.
Yeah. And so before we dive into like, why do you think that is though, bro? Is it just because he's so well liked? Is it because like we love when we go through one of his albums, even if they're not super replayable, we appreciate like what he's trying to do? And we also can acknowledge the skill level. Like, cause I'm just saying like you would think like he wouldn't get this pass. And like, again, he clearly has, and I agree with it. It was just, surprising to me. So I wonder like, what are your thoughts on why he does get, boosted up to that GOAT level, even though maybe he doesn't have what most GOATs have?
I don't know. I think his storytelling is appealing, but he still incorporates melody into his hooks that sounds good. And I think his production in general is really good as well. So even though he's more conscious, it's not quote unquote boring to
Sure.
a lot of people as some of the other artists that are conscious. So I think because he incorporates melody and solid production, it's easier to digest for people who may skew more mainstream. So I think he gets a pass in that sense. And then of course it helps that he kind of maintains some relevancy by hopping on
I was gonna say, I think the features
stuff,
especially the last like 4 years of features that he's done for people, it's almost like, bro, I can do this if you want me to, but I choose not to, kind of a thing, right? So I think that also is like, all right, bro, like you're the man, like it's fine.
Right. Like he can, do features like wash that rapper, make it sound good, and he'll like get on it, but he won't water it down by being like annoyingly conscious or anything, right?
Correct.
Like he'll spit
talk about
stuff.
Yeah, he'll talk ignorant shit, and but it'll only be on the feature. Like I feel like it doesn't happen on his actual his content.
Right. And I think what it boils down to is he just has like a kind of cult like fan base that is willing to support him, unlike some of these other guys. And I get it too, because I mean I still am, but I was particularly a massive fan of him in college because I was in college and it was the first time I had seen a rapper who didn't come across as corny, that was like college educated and able to make music that sounded good, that you could actually bump. And I feel like that crowd just stuck with him.
Correct. And I think cult level following is a great phrase to use, but I also think it's cult level following that has reached the mainstream level, right? Because it's like, it's almost borderline, you just have a ton of fucking fans, right? And usually that kind of music doesn't garner the numbers that he gets. Like that's like the most like, dude, kudos to you, right? Because technically your music isn't that mass appealing, right? On paper, at least. But you still have mass appeal that other conscious rappers like say a Lupe or a Joyner aren't even fucking close to getting. You know what I mean? Right. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Joyner and in this sense, and Lupe even. So for Lupe, I think Lupe, sometimes his music, even for me, is like way too abstract to the point of like, if you don't want to go to the library and fucking put your phone on do disturb and listen to this shit, then it's not for you. And then Joyner, I think a lot of conscious rappers like want to just spit like as fast as fucking possible. And a lot of times won't even have a message outside of I rap really good and mumble rap is trash because they can't, put two words together. Like some people have that approach, and it's like, that's cool for one song, but you don't have to tell me for a whole album that you're dope at rapping. And I think J. Cole's just one, it's more mellow, but he's able to tell stories in a clever way. Whereas sometimes with Joyner, I think he easily has the potential to wash most of these rappers, but I think the message sometimes isn't really clear of like what he's trying to do differently. Like we get that you were an underdog at one point and now you've made it and this and that, but it's like I think there needs to be more there for him to draw an appeal like a J. Cole.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so I thought it was a good topic, man. I just want to get your take on it because, again, I truly believe, like, yeah, there's undenying that this guy is in that framework, right? But yeah, you would think that going through his track list, I'd be like, yo, I want that song for the wedding, I want that song for the wedding, and it's just like, there's not much here, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a party level atmosphere, right? That's all, man. Again, not that. Again, dude, think about like there's a ton of hip hop artists who don't have like bangers, right? Like I don't think Eminem has truly a club banger, but no one's gonna ever deny like his GOAT status and certain things, right? So that's not the end all be all, but it's almost like one part of the arsenal that all of them have, and it just felt like that was the most like obvious for Cole. That it's like, bro, he doesn't have that at all, which is crazy.
No, it is crazy considering I feel like everyone puts him within the top 3 of new rappers, like GOATs. And
there's no debate there.
He would.
Yeah, there's no debate there, and I'm all for it, and I agree with it. It was just you would think that he would have that, but I think like it's almost like if you do like games ratings, like the Madden rating for him or the NBA 2K rating, he just has like one thing that's like kind of lower than everyone else, but everything else is in line. Cool, man. I appreciate your takes on that. So one more thing that I thought was pretty interesting, especially keeping the whole idea of 50 years of hip hop. Again, we got this idea of the J. Cole conversation because we saw him come out on the 50 Cent's Last Lap tour. And I'm actually going to that concert on Sunday down here in Florida. Do I already know I'm going to be disappointed, though? Because for whatever reason, bro, these East Coast tours, like up north at least, like, dude, he's renting out the Barclays Center. Bro, I'm seeing him in like some little ass amphitheater, bro. So I'm just like, how the fuck is like this? I mean, I hope they can recreate what I'm seeing on the IG, but I'm like, bro, I know that venue, though. That venue's not lit at all, but whatever, dude. So like he's on his tour. And dude, what's been amazing to see is that we spoke about this almost like 3 or 4 episodes ago. It feels like 50 Cent is finally getting his flowers, but not only by, again, he had like a cult, like G-Unit. That was a cult-like following at the time, right? So I think those fans have always been around their age now. So I think that's why you're seeing the tour numbers do great. But it seems like hip-hop, like rappers from back in his day, current, are finally giving him flowers as well. So that seems like a very, like, just a beautiful thing to see, bro. Because I feel like for a long period of time, it's almost like you couldn't say you enjoyed 50, right? Because either he was going to clown you, or he was doing clown shit that you didn't want to be associated with, or he was beefing with your best friend. You're like, bro, I can't say anything, but this guy's a great rapper. So what are your thoughts on the idea of like him finally getting love from like hip hop itself and not just the outsiders looking in?
I think it's dope because it could have gone down a really dark, wrong path, as we've seen, especially with a lot of these young rappers nowadays who seemingly only survive the industry for like 2 years before they're killed or just become irrelevant. And I think it's really dope that he was able to make amends with, Fat Joe and Jadakiss and a lot of these other people that he seemingly for no reason had beef with. So yeah, it's nice to see a happy ending to such a tumultuous story or beginning. And he made undeniably great music. And I think there's no denying that everyone respected him. But I think now he's had the chance or given everyone the chance to kind of appreciate him because he's been absent for a minute. And I've always been like, yo, why isn't he, making music? Like, there's no reason he should have stopped. Jay-Z and all these other guys are making music. So it's nice to see him get back into it. But I hope he does come back and make some more music because even though his later music I don't think was as good as his earlier music, like it usually goes.
Yeah, and that Nas feature gave us a good insight on like where he is right now.
right. Yeah, just fucking talking shit for 5
just
seconds.
Talking,
But I get it. I mean, he's rich as shit. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's inspired to say anything. But yeah, overall, I think it's amazing, and I hope we get to do this more with some of our artists.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was, because before it's too late, right? Unfortunately, I could do that. Yeah. Unfortunately, more and more people keep passing away. Dude, I don't know if you saw this. So rest in peace
Magoo.
To Magoo. Bro, what the fuck? 50 years old, dog? Like,
I know. I'm like, it seems like none of these rappers are living past 55.
Bro, 50 is too young, dog. Like that was crazy to me, man. That was, again, a time in hip hop. Dude, that Timothy and Magoo, bro, those Those are some fire records for those 2 or 3 year run, bro. Like you wanted them two motherfuckers on a track. But back to 50, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, bro. When he brought out Fat Joe, fucking Fat Joe is topless. You know, and it's just
Fat Joe is topless.
Bro, took his shirt off, dog.
What the hell? Is he like
he's skinnier? No, dude, he's still fat, but he's skinnier than what he used to be, bro. Because if you look back at some old school Fat Joe videos, he was massive, bro. But yeah, man, it's just nice, man. Like it's dude 50. Again, I think because he beefed with everyone who you liked, and then the music kind of did dip off. I think it was very easy for the last like 10 years of hip hop to forget about the impact this motherfucker had, right? So that's what I'm saying, bro. This guy deserves all of this shit, bro. And it was cool to get a moment because I know there's been like the last 2 or 3 years that him and Busta Rhymes had beef allegedly. Like 50's just quick to make a joke about him or some shit about like him being fat or him being whatever. But dude, there was a clip at the Barclay show where like Busta's like singing word for word one of 50's like newer songs. And you're like, dude, I knew you motherfuckers were listening to new shit. You just didn't want to tell people because you don't fucking like him, blah, 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 blah. So again, it's just nice for him to get his flowers. Because again, I do think that I don't think a lot of people can take into account, especially people who are at least 4 years younger than us, right? Because we both just were able to understand what was happening during the G-Unit era, right? But we were still young as shit, dude. Imagine that was happening now, bro. Like I would have G-Unit posters in my wall still if I was like actually understanding fully what was happening, right? So, but for younger kids who are like in their later 20s right now or mid 20s, they don't fucking remember that time, right? So 50 Cent was just the guy who maybe they caught beefing with Kanye, and then everything after that was like a mid album. And you're like, bro, what's the big deal, right? So it's just cool that he gets his flowers. But to touch on a point you brought up earlier, that the Game was your favorite rapper. And I think if you think about like the 50 Cent G-Unit Game beef, but it working out beautifully in the beginning, but the Game went on to technically have like a longer rap career than 50, right? So if I were to tell you 2 times, back in 2008, if you would have preferred to have the Game's career versus 50's career, and then if I ask you today in 2023, whose rap career, who would you take?
I mean, I think I would have always been more optimistic with 50 just because I knew he was kind of the mastermind behind everything. I mean, I definitely sided with the Game during the whole feud, just because I felt like it made sense to pledge allegiance to the West Coast, and I just preferred the Game's image and sound, and it was refreshing.
The G-Unit sweaters it had.
The G-Unit, and I thought it was dope. I felt like he held his own.
Dude, that shit was clever, dog. Like,
G-Unit, and like it was just hard not to get behind. It was so.
And he did have like 3 or 4 bangers after the breakup. Like,
he had like One Blood.
One Blood, bro. That was like the hip hop anthem for like a full year, bro.
Right. Wouldn't Get Far, I think, with Kanye. Was that after the beef? I'm pretty sure.
No, that was on the album, dog. That was on the first album.
For real?
Oh no, that's the no, you're right. Yeah. That was it. So yeah, was post G-Unit.
Yeah. So I can't say that I ever thought the Game would have ever been more successful financially or anything, but
and I was just talking like rap career. Like
rap career. I may have bet on the Game then, because I felt like 50 Cent was like going almost the Ja Rule route, which is what he was clowning. Like he was doing songs with Olivia, and I think over time, like it just wasn't hitting the same because his whole image was being the bully and stuff, and then it seemed like he was just trying to make, little hits here and there, like sing-alongs, and I don't know. I just felt like he was not nosediving, but I felt like his career rap wise wasn't getting the respect it once was. Whereas I felt like the Game was getting way more respect, especially just taking on all these guys himself. He obviously had like the gang affiliation thing going for him. So at the time, I probably would have said the Game.
And what about now?
Now, definitely not. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but I feel like the Game is just so. he just name drops quite a bit and seems to want to get involved in beef here and there, and rather than just make good music. Like every time he pops up, it's because he's going at somebody, and he kind of was already doing that before. But it's like, can you just get back to the music? And again, maybe he's just not really inspired to rap about anything else. But yeah, now it's just a whole different ball game between the two.
Yeah, it's a whole, which is wild, dude. Because I would agree with you. In 2007, right, especially after the game was maybe just coming off like a good run, right, with the one, because I think One Blood was around that time, not too far off. Mm-hmm. And then like around that 2007, 2008, especially when 50 lost, right, to Kanye. Losing and still selling 700,000 records the first week is never an L. But you know what I mean? Like in the public side, he was going downhill. Maybe the actual albums weren't hitting that hard, even though the mixtapes were. I would have probably if I'm going to put money on who's going to have a better rap career when someone asked me this question 14 years from now, I'm probably going to also pick the Game. But today, bro, I don't think it's not even close, dog. And even though 50 Cent really hasn't done much since 2007, I think it's more so because the Game's career has fucking tanked, bro. It's just no one's looking for that shit, bro. No one. Even when he had that, what was that song? 100 with Drake?
Oh yeah, 100 with Drake. Yep.
So even that, right? We're almost attracted to it because we're like, oh, you have that fire single, right? And good for you for being able to do that. But when we actually tune into your shit I'm always disappointed, bro. I'm always disappointed. So I feel and in hindsight now, if there was a final lap tour for the Game, whenever that comes, God willing, dude, I don't think it's gonna hit that hard for true hip hop fans either. Because I just think it was always I get what you're saying, right? You obviously enjoyed him because he's on the West Coast and all that stuff, but it also was all hard to always love that dude. You know what I mean? He was I know 50 was the villain at times, but bro, it was fun for him being the villain, bro. He went up against Jay-Z and didn't win, but lost and embraced that shit. He went up against Ja Rule, bro. Again, we were all Ja Rule fans and fucking knocked him out of the park, and then started doing Ja Rule shit. And we were like, it's okay. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I just think with the Game, it was dude, I loved him with 50. But he never wanted to play his part, right? That's whatever. If you listen to both sides, what it feels like. And then, dude, it was always hard to embrace him, bro. Because it was always bro, you're always name checking. You're always bringing up people that have nothing to do with you. At what point do you just give me bars like you did on the first album? And I feel we never got to that. Besides, again, dude, kudos to him. He figured out a way to give you a great single with a great feature. But dude, every time you checked in those albums, it was just bro, this is not trash, but bro, this isn't what I thought your career was going to start doing. So I think today I would pick 50 because I just feel the Game's career never elevated past that initial boost of yo, fuck G-Unit, I'm the man. It's all right, bro, but now prove it. I don't think he ever did.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I think 50 Cent just seems to be more business minded. I know he had that crazy vitamin water deal, and he's working with that show Power or whatever.
Yeah, all the shows, bro. Yeah.
He's just in a whole different stratosphere, it seems. And that was, I think, my biggest pet peeve with Game was it seemed like every song involved a name drop, even if it wasn't a diss. It was just always about someone else.
It didn't need to be there, bro.
Right.
It's just
and after a while, you began to wonder if he even really had issues with these people. When he was beefing with Meek Mill, I'm I wonder if he was doing it just to get Drake, pander to Drake and get his fan base and Drake's love, because Drake's obviously the machine you don't want to go against, and you want to kick the person who's down. That's where I'm all right, what do we take seriously now? Can we make good fucking, music like you did with the documentary? So that was always my
great music, dude. Again, that album still lives up to I think we said that before on a recent pod, but dude, I would say even I remember in 2011, I really got the feeling it was over for him, bro, when he dissed Big Sean because that Big Sean and Chris Brown song where Chris, Big Sean is talking about like I went to Benihana's and got wontons or some shit. And the game is like, you can't get that at Benihana's. It's like, bro, like who gives a fucking rhyme?
I don't remember that.
Like, what?
Now I gotta
Yeah,
look
it was. There's some lyric in that Chris Brown. What was it Once in a Lifetime or Once? Was it? It was on the first album, on Big Sean's first album, Finally Famous. Damn. No, that song's a classic, bro. How can I not fucking remember that? Let me look it up now because I'm stuck.
I mean, Game claims he didn't take a stab at Big Sean. This article says, but you know, people back.
Oh, the song is the Chris Brown song. Oh, My Last.
You've heard that song? Yeah.
So there's some lyric about like Benihana and wontons and fucking. He had like a fucking random ass song on his next album that he's like saying that you never did that. It's like, bro, who gives a fuck, bro? Like how does that have to do with anything? So it was just like a lot of that.
There's so many lyrics like that don't make sense, but
yeah, and it's like, but why? Like, I just felt like the game always felt the need to like chime in on shit like that, and it's like, bro, like it's not that serious, bro. So I think we both agree we would take 50 Cent's career in the short run as well as the long run. But again, it's cool to see that he's finally getting the fucking love he deserves, man. So shout out to 50. Yeah, and maybe we'll do some more topics on like other 50 hip hop. Well, 50 years of hip hop stuff that's been coming up recently because it's been cool to see. Again, dude, every company in America right now is like jumping on the bandwagon. It's like almost like you know, like whatever, like those jokes about corporate America, like, oh, it's LGBT month, we're all gay. It's like bro, like, all right, we get it, bro. You like hip hop, it's fine. So yeah, if fun one comes up that you think about, let us know in the comments. We'll be more than happy to dive in. But I might do before we get out of here, man. Episode 151, almost in the books. What's a heat of the week that you've been bumping since the last episode?
I mean, speaking of legends, so I went back and listened to some older music ever since Utopia, there just wasn't a whole lot dropping. But Prodigy is one of my favorite artists. Might be my favorite East Coast artist, which I didn't really get into his music until I was in college. But his album HNIC 3 includes it's a really good album. It includes a feature with Wiz Khalifa. I always love when older artists do songs with newer artists, and I think that the production on this one is different than what I'm accustomed to hearing Prodigy on. It's still hip hop. It's just you'll notice when you hear it, but it's more new school, and it's called Copilot. Super fire track, probably my favorite song off of the album. And as I listened to this album and this song, I began to realize Prodigy kind of reminds me of a East Coast 21 Savage, like super mellow, dark flow. That just works because it's like super aggressive, but not in the tone itself isn't crazy aggressive. It's just
I can see that.
Get that vibe from their delivery and everything. So yeah, super fire song. I'll send it to you, but yeah, my heat of the week.
I found it. I'll play it once we're done. So Copilot, Wiz Khalifa, and that was on the Prodigy album, right?
Correct. Yep.
What did HNIC stand for?
Hood Nigga in Charge.
Nice, dude. Rest in peace to him, bro. So how did that make you feel? Side note, when he signed to G Unit, like, and they had like that couple-year run.
That's funny you asked. I think I was a little conflicted. Which is odd because I never was that invested in Mobb Deep to begin with, so I don't know why I gave a shit. But
so you like Prodigy on his own?
Yeah, I like them on their own, and I think part of it had to do with the fact that Alchemist obviously produced a lot for them. So even though I didn't really know Alchemist like that, my brother more so, I just kind of like highly respected them and knew they were legends. So when they worked with G Unit, I kind of felt like it was odd to continue to support them in that sense. And I wasn't sure if it was just like, a money grab type situation where it's like,
oh, it
we don't really like him like that, but like, we're going to
was.
work with him anyway. Cause I think around that time, 50 had like snitching allegations and all kinds of other grimy shit. And I didn't fully understand what working with him meant to them. So I wasn't sure if I should even support it, like musically.
Yeah, but those are thoughts that only like late teens, 20-year-old versions of us would ever like. Right now, we're like, bro, get that fucking bag, bro. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. And now when I look back, actually, I think that album when they started working with him was one of my favorites. So at this point in time, I respect it, and yeah, it's sad that he's one of the people that passed away young as well. Granted, I think he had sickle cell. So
yeah, he had health issues for a minute. So it wasn't that surprising because you kept hearing about like, this was like a problem kind of a thing. So rest in peace to Prodigy. But yeah, for me, dude, I remember when like, that was like 50 trying to see if he can recreate that buzz he had like from 6 years earlier. He's like, bro, let me just see if I can do like one more thing and like get all these artists who you fuck with, but you haven't been listening to them because they have like album or they have like label issues, right? Because he signed Mace, he signed 8 Ball, MJG, he signed Mobb Deep. You're like, bro, like what is happening, dog? But it didn't work, bro. Because I think the public was just like, bro, we're done with you. If you're not scooping up old rappers who should retire, you're beefing with our favorite rapper. We're done, bro. So I think there was a time that the audience just wanted a break from 50 and anything that was tied to G Unit. Because to your point, bro, I really enjoyed some of those Mobb Deep songs when they were on G Unit. But I just think the audience wasn't gonna let themselves truly enjoy it because they're like, bro, no, you sold out. I think there's even like an audio, bro. Like they were on the radio and like someone called in, like, you were a bitch for, how you gonna, that man went against Nas and Nas is your boy. And it's like, bro, like who gives a fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were like, don't listen to our album. And like, no one did it. It's like,
right. Yeah. It was weird. Cause like, I felt like there was a lot of picking sides going on. And for someone who, it doesn't affect 99.9% of the fans. So it was strange that I was so invested in like, do I want to support this? Do I want to support that?
Yeah.
Like the beat fucking has nothing to do with me.
My ethics of hip hop.
Right.
Oh man, that's great. But yeah, I didn't even know he had a song with Wiz, man. So that's sick. And obviously it must have been a good time ago, right? That song came out in 2012, so 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yep. I vividly remember it because I just started pretty much dating my wife and I listened to it on the train.
Nice,
nonstop,
dude.
So.
Yeah, I gotta. I'm more intrigued now than anything, man. So for me, I'm gonna go with J. Cole because that's probably trying to come up with that topic. I listened to a lot of it just to see if I was wrong about my take. But dude, I'm gonna say my favorite. I'm gonna go with my favorite J. Cole song. And it's maybe not an obvious choice, but it's just one that whenever I hear it, it just always like not puts me in a good mood, but just like I just love to your point. Like I think his biggest gift is the storytelling approach. So She Knows on the Born Sinner album, bro, fire, dog. The storytelling on that shit, the Martin Luther King line where I'm like, bro, that is utter genius to me. So shout out to Conan O'Brien who just popped up on my TV for some fucking reason. But yeah, dude, that song on the Born Sinner album is phenomenal. So She Knows is my hit of the week.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick, and I saw it as I was going through his catalog. He has a lot of.
He has a lot of those songs,
like, bangers that you bump in the car, but you're not requesting it out and about at a party or something.
And if it doesn't come on, you're not sad, right? Like you're like, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, play that, let it play. But you're not like, oh, if you skip it, I'm not gonna be mad at you. I'm like, you want to have a more up tempo vibe. But like, I think like that's the pocket of J. Cole that I fucking love. Like, She Knows, which is why I think Role Models work so well because almost like a slightly up tempo version of his normal, like, this is my pocket, let me stay in it kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome, dude. But yeah, dude, great episode. Shout out to 50 years of hip hop. Okay, we'll do more. But before we get out of here, bro, let the people know we got going on. Do your thing.
Yes, sir. Check us out at audio-theory.com. New episode every week on all platforms. And if you're on YouTube right now, check below, get you some merch. We also got the Spotify and Apple Music playlist with all of the Heat of the Week selections. So go to the website, peep that, add it to your own playlist, or just stick to ours. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, donate, share, do what you can to support the pod.
Absolutely. Hit the fucking like button. Please start viewing our shit on TikTok. I don't know what's happening with that fucking algorithm, but again, we're going to crack that bitch soon and be back to 1,000 views at least per episode. But my dude, I love you.
Love you too.
We'll do this again next week. Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace.